Perfect. Yeah. All right, guys, welcome to the Wireside Chat 3. If you guys came to our previous Wiresides, you might know what we do in the Wireside. It's just a cool name, Fireside, but by the wire. So it's more like an open discussion, and feel free to present any ideas that you guys have. Uh, I mean, you might have probably seen the latest tech news, the Stargate project and then DeepSeek R1, which is pretty cool. I'm not sure if you guys came to our previous event, but Zeal hosted our backend workshop, and we had some Perplexity subscriptions given out for free. So yeah, if you guys were not there, we'll be giving out the Perplexity subscriptions again. Uh, just a quick information, people were asking that, any student from any .edu account can get free Perplexity, but that was like a year ago. You can't get the subscription anymore. Back in September, I think, actually. You can't get that anymore, but Perplexity is giving out some coupons, which for which we have like partnered them with, and we'll be giving out coupons in the upcoming workshops. So, just check our Discord and our Instagram, and you'll see all the announcements. Well, anyways, getting started. So what's cool in AI in 2025? AI AI has been there for some time, but camera, yeah, perfect. Yes, right. Just a second. All right. So DeepSeek. I mean, I think most of us here know what DeepSeek is. You might have already tried that out. If you haven't, again, try Perplexity, and it's offering you free DeepSeek R1. So you can, technically access DeepSeek in US, and that's only possible through Perplexity, or you'll have to, give your information to DeepSeek. But anyways, so the story begins, with you might have probably heard the guy's name, Liang Wenfeng, and he's like a 40-year-old entrepreneur from, if I remember correctly, the place it's known as Guangdong. It's a southern province in China. Before 2023, before the restrictions were implied on China for having like these NVIDIA processors come up, he actually imported, I think, 10,000 NVIDIA processors, and he just like stockpiled them, and they trained this DeepSeek on A100s. So not the H series, but they use the A100 series. Uh, just like taking a quick look at the tech specs of the DeepSeek, it uses MOE architecture with 671 billion total parameters. That's actually a lot. If you guys have been doing open source programming, or if you have used Llama 3.1, we are using Llama 3.2 now, but if you took a look at Llama 3.1, I think it had like 90, equivalent to 90 billion parameters. And DeepSeek using all these cool tech, and like making like a really good architecture. That's one of the really fascinating facts about DeepSeek. It only activates 37 billion parameters, as you guys can see, for forward pass for efficiency. But these are just the tech specs if you guys want to take a look. Skipping the, like the boring talk, what's the performance advantages of like DeepSeek? Like why you should use DeepSeek compared to OpenAI? Now, I'm presuming most of us are, like CS majors, or you guys have either done some coding. I was running some test cases for one of my research work on O3. Now you can, have like the ChatGPT Plus subscription. And when I was running these test cases on O3, I myself tested these things out, that it wasn't like I had some errors, by myself. And I was like, okay, these errors, they should be pointed out. They're very, like it was like a operating systems program, and I was running on it. It was a very common error that should have been pointed out. For some reason, O3 like didn't point it out. Like O3 Mini is available to all of us now, to all the GPT users, even for like free subscription. This particular thing, it has like, some pretty exceeding benchmarks. If you have taken a look at like Math 500 or AIME 2024, they have like some really cool benchmarks, and it particularly excels in like coding and mathematics. If some of us here do speak Mandarin, or like if you come from a Chinese background, I think it's pretty cool to use a DeepSeek, because you can code in your native language. I mean, how cool that be? If we can code in our own native language, give prompts in our native language, that will be really cool. One of the really cool facts that I liked was, it was trained using the same GPUs, but it actually achieved they achieved this model at an incredibly cost efficient model technique. Like they use approximately $6 million, which is like, a fraction of what they used to train like GPT-4. And the API costs are like 90% lower than OpenAI, and most of us have to pay for using the O1 mini, or like the O1 premium subscription, but you can use DeepSeek R1 for free. That is like really dope in tech industry, that they're actually doing what OpenAI should be doing, for which Elon Musk pointed out OpenAI that they should be called as closed AI, because they're not really doing anything for free. They're charging users. Here's the top secret, how DeepSeek is better than ChatGPT. You guys can take a look at it. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw some tweets about it or not, but this particular whistleblower, he pointed it out that DeepSeek actually used ChatGPT and a couple of their servers to train their own model. Now, what they basically did in these things is they had these random websites from which they were allocating the data. And after like these websites were taken down, they got to know that, these websites are hosting like some unanimous stuff, and like they were also hosting like some porn websites. This whistleblower, he told them, and there was some evidence, but yeah, we don't really know anything concrete yet, because they haven't had a lawsuit or something like that. Talking about the performance and everything, I don't know if you guys saw DeepSeek's Janus. So this thing is actually quite nice. How many of you have tried DALL-E 3? Any image generation? Like Meta AI, Meta AI, right? Have you guys tried anything? Like, any AI image generator or something? Okay, if you guys want to give it a try right now, I think we all have free GPT, right? Yeah, so you guys can give it a try right now. Just like give a free what do we say? Like just give a free response, and then ask like to it to generate like an image of a penguin, or whatever you want. Later you can try that at home once you have like the Perplexity subscription. If you come to our next workshop, we'll be giving that out. So you can try that out on DeepSeek. And the DeepSeek one is actually super cool. Let me try that out. I think here. I think I can display that. Let me see if my Perplexity allows me to reasoning generate an image of penguin dancing. Let's see if it do you guys know if it generates an image like Perplexity? I haven't tried Perplexity yet, for because they have like a different model. DeepSeek has a different model known as the Janus. It's just giving a lot of AI things. I don't think it does, yeah. But you guys might have probably seen. So also just giving like a quick overview. Once you have like Perplexity, you can switch the model here, which is quite useful. Let me zoom on it actually. Yeah. All right. So here it says DeepSeek's R1, hosted in US. And you might have also seen these memes online. There's this one place in China, it's known as the Tiananmen Square. I don't know if I'm pronouncing the name correct, but Tiananmen Square, if you search that up on DeepSeek, it won't give any response, because it has some restrictions because of the CCP, like the Chinese Communist Party. But if you search them up on the US hosted server, it does give you responses, because it has like very open approach to, all these political agendas and everything. Other than that, let's going back to the presentation. Yeah. So the key features about Janus, it's what it has and what OpenAI's DALI 3 lacks. The main difference is that, it has about 1 to 7 billion parameter models. Now, having all these parameter models, if I give you a very simple example of this, let's say all of us have to become more articulate, like, be very precise in what we talk, and we have to uh, kind of like, go to interviews and be like, okay, I'm going to nail all these interviews. Like I have to crack all these interviews down. What's one of the way that you guys might approach this? Just like, you know, maybe reading more books or watching more YouTube videos about, okay, these are the particular questions, or doing lead code or like practicing all these questions, right? The same thing is with DeepSeek, if you have like all these parameters. And when you have a big database, a big number of parameters, it just gives you, more data to explore around and do all these things. Other than that, it has a dual capability, which is like analysis and creation. If you tried DALI in its initial stages, you could only generate images, but it didn't use to analyze them. DeepSeek's JNS Pro also does that, which is kind of cool. I mean, they're doing all this for free, and at a fraction of the cost what OpenAI's all these models took to like generate them. It's quite nice. They also outperformed DALI 3, I mean, on benchmarks. So yeah, I mean, you guys already know that it's kind of better in the market at this point. Anyways, it was in the today's news. I don't know if you guys saw this. This is like super cool. Like I was reading this this morning, I think this morning, yeah, it came out this morning. I was thinking afternoon, but it came out this morning, and some researchers from Stanford and the University of Washington have made this AI model, which just took like $50 just to make the model. And they trained that in less than 30 minutes, and they use like 16 NVIDIA H100 GPUs. And it's the fascinating fact here is that, they are sending like shockwaves through AI community. Like, I don't know if you guys saw in the news, but Sam Altman was like, oh, we need all this big infrastructure. We need all these things to, train AI models. But I think going forward, AI will be very accessible. Like considering, you just spend like $50, which is like a really big breakthrough, because this thing can technically not be achieved at a super uh, cheap level. Like it does require money to, have all these things. And it's, if you just see in that way, it's like it took less than 30 minutes to train. To be exact, it was like 27 minutes. It's less than what you would stream like a YouTube video or like a Netflix episode. It took less than that time, which is just quite interesting. So yeah, I think one of the really cool things that I'm excited about is, that we'll be having all these accessible technologies in the future. Coming on to the Stargate project, I mean, you might have seen as the Trump administration came into effect on January 20th, I think he met with Sam Altman and everyone on somewhere around January 25th, and they announced that they're gonna fund, I think, $500 billion something to all these startups, to Oracle, Microsoft, and all the AI startups as well, Perplexity, all these companies, which is really nice. I think one of the major impact that it will be having in the upcoming time is that there will be so many jobs in like AI. Like there was this one posting which I found on LinkedIn. I don't know why it came in my references, and it was like $300,000 and the San Jose, California prompt engineering for Netflix. And I was like, oh, what's the requirement? Then I go in requirement. I was like, okay, I think all of us are prompt engineers, right? We're just chat GPT, like we are just looking it up online. Then I was like, okay, let me look at the requirements. And it was like, okay, you have to have 10 years of industry experience, understand all these modelings. So the position name was pretty simple, like prompt engineering, but that's not all that we are doing. But I think how it's going to revolutionize our education is that all the courses What's your guys' majors? Like, quick question. CS? Software engineering. So you guys are from Poly campus, probably, right? All of you? Okay. And what about you? Okay, so it's kind of on the tech side as well, right? I see, I see. Makes sense. So you have done coding, right? Okay, cool. I've been a member of this curriculum committee at RI Fulton Schools of Engineering. It's known as the FSC Curriculum Committee. And having been a member since 2022 as like a student member, what I've come to realize is that, most of the courses that they are implementing in all the colleges, including ASU, they all have some AI related content now. Like, they will be teaching you neural networks or something related to AI, which will be preparing you for the future. It's like that thing, like 2008, the big boom came, and then there was a financial crisis. But then, again, we got into the rise of like social media apps. I think in the upcoming time, AI will be big, and we will be studying like major implications of AI, and like the how we can apply it. But yeah, nevertheless, it's going to be quite nice seeing this, thing, how it progresses upwards. Anyways, coming on to the next topic, we have OpenAI Operator. It's the autonomous web assistant. Now, giving a very brief example of it, it's more like AI that works like a human. So what they are doing in the autonomous web assistant is, imagine you are giving out all these prompts to your chat GPT, which is like the free version or even the plus version. But we cannot ask our chat GPT to perform certain tasks like getting restaurant reservations, or like giving it a certain document and then asking it to complete that on our behalf from like a human sense of view. Because there's a couple of softwares, right? Like if you write the code or even if you write a prompt, they can get to know, okay, this was written by AI. You can paraphrase and get through, but still it's like an AI thing, right? I mean, even Quillbot, the paraphraser, is using AI. But it's more like a human. So we are not really in like AGI, artificial general intelligence, which will be like competing with us for jobs, as they say. But I'm quite positive about it. But I think the OpenAI operator, it's kind of cool. But again, it's hefty money, like $200 a month. Like, who wants to pay that much subscription, right? And this is not expected from an company which is known as like OpenAI, because it's supposed to be an open source company, and like, they should provide like AI for free. So most of their software is closed source, like things that AGI and stuff that they are working on. All right, Google Willow. Have you guys heard the name Google Willow? Like, did you guys take a look at Google Willow? All right, just a very quick intro of Google Willow. Quantum computing, has been like a really big thing, I think, since the 90s. So ever since the 90s, Oracle and IBM and Google, they've been like racing to, achieve really good quantum computing. Now, there was this one particular concept in quantum computing, which is known as error handling and error correction, where you are using like, long-standing challenges, and you are participating in like theoretical computer science, doing all these proofs. Imagine Einstein in a room working on general relativity. Now, if AI can do that for you, it's kind of super cool, because quantum computing can like handle trillions of operations in a second, which is like a really big breakthrough. But Google experts have said that, it's still like 15 to 30 years away from like its practical use. I mean, it will be really helpful in like space exploration, because we need all this data and then we need to compute it. Just a very brief example, a couple of years ago, I think all of us here have seen Interstellar, right? In 2014, right? So Interstellar, when it came out, Christopher Nolan, he had the image of the black hole made by this person, like this artist, and then they were like all visualizing it. We didn't really know how the black hole looks like, but there was just like concepts of like black hole. I think back in 2017, yeah, 2017, if I remember the year correctly, NASA got this image of black hole, which was like not like super far away, but it's near our galaxy. And just to compute that image, I think it was like 100 terabytes of data, and they had to compute all that image, and it's like it's huge. Like if you just think about it, like in the past decade, the data that we have, we have been using, it's huge. Like we cannot store 100 terabytes of data on ourselves. Like barely we have maybe like a 1 TB Mac sometimes, or we even use the base versions, right? So I think quantum computing is like the way up, and like in the upcoming years, it will be really big in some time. But yeah, what's your guys' view on quantum computing though? Just like give like a, do you think that it will be useful in like uh, like education or some case?
Make it like
Mm-hmm.
can break
Yeah, yeah,
like it
cryptography. Yeah, I think I agree with you. But
but other things like civilian information.
yeah, I agree with you. I think quantum computing, first of all, it won't be like accessible to most of us. I think most of us won't be in the coming 15 to 30 years, we won't be seeing any quantum computing ourselves because it will be only accessible to highly authorized employees from like the US agencies or big tech companies. I don't think they're gonna get like we're gonna get our hands on all these companies.
Do you think like my country like might use it Afghanistan and countries?
It's a possibility. I don't know. I'm not sure I'm an, if I'm if I should. It's more like a political thing. I was reading it online, and I'm not sure if I should talk about it here. But just giving like a quick hint, OpenAI, they pledged that they will use all their software to nuclear warfare. Like they pledged their software to U.S. Government. I was reading it in the news sometime, and they were like, okay, we'll be using all our software to develop nuclear weapons. I'm like, it's at that point that when Oppenheimer he created that bomb. I mean, we all have seen the movie, and then he was like, "Oh, I wish I did not develop this thing." So it's like that thing. Like, I mean, it's the human law. People who have power will certainly oppress other people. I mean, it's the human law. That shouldn't be done, but I mean, who knows? Like maybe company will be using them. I mean, if you just take into perspective, right? OpenAI, it had somewhere around $157 of $157 billion of valuation back in 2024, like around October. And when they started, right, like when Elon Musk and when Sam Altman talked to each other, they were like, oh, let's start, like an OpenAI kind of like company where we are using AI to develop, like AGI and like all these cool things which we'll be doing for humanity. But if you take a look at the guy now, there's in the news that he might even get equity, right? Like, people's motives change once money and like power comes into play. So that's hard to beat. So we don't really know what will happen in the coming years, but just having a positive faith. Anyways, the industry impact in future, it's quite groundbreaking. If we take a look at the current state, research value is more important than like practical applications. Right now it cannot break modern encryption, as you said, like the cryptography. So right now it cannot really break modern encryption. That's why I think maybe their way to say it like, oh, we will take 15 to 30 years. I think that's what they're saying, implying that, oh, we will be taking 30 years and breaking modern encryption. So we don't know what's going to happen. But looking ahead, I think, timeline to practical use is like, I think probably like 15, 30 years, as I mentioned earlier. And then there are some required developments that, they will be having. Otherwise, we won't be able to use it. But anyways, coming on to cruise, how many of us here have seen cruise on campus? You have seen it once? Yeah. What about you all? You might have seen Waymo, right? All of us? All of us know Waymo. So Cruise is also one of this startup. It's like an autonomous car company, but they are actually kind of like shutting down, like we have like a sad news, but there's also a positive news that I will tell you guys. So they will be integrated as a whole in GM, the General Motors, as like their own subsidiary, but they will be pivoting from like, kind of like robo taxi, how Tesla is announcing, to like personal autonomous vehicles. So what they will be doing is they will be having all these vehicles which you will be owning, I will be owning sometime in the future, and we will be just putting commands. Okay, we have to go to this destination, it takes us to that destination. That's all that Cruise is gonna do. Like that's what they're like saying that they're gonna do. But nevertheless, they are having like 50%, workforce reduction, and like, about 20 out of about 2,300 employees, 1,000 employees will be laid off. Quite interesting fact which I found here is that, they have executive departures, like the CEO, the chief safety officers, all these people with like C titles, they're also departing. Like they're getting laid off technically. The interesting fact is remaining staff is like, 88% in engineering roles. Now, what I feel is that, what it implies here is that even if like people in HR or, all these other departments, they are like departing, or even if like workforce is being reduced, I still think, uh, engineering is one of that field, or having applications of engineering in your major in some way is really important. Because if you think of it as this way, if we know the core basics of engineering or maths or any STEM major, even in business, even in, even in, you can say biology, even in medicine, if we know any applications of engineering, I think this is quite important because 88% of their staff is remaining. I mean, if even if they leave, then the company is no more. I mean, people come and go, it's I think it's this one phrase that people come and go, but the core values do stay. So they do have to keep their core people. So I think that's kind of looking at the positive side, we can think of it as this way, that okay, people are departing, technology is coming and going, but you know, the core values will be staying, which is like the core engineering values or like the necessary topics that we need. Here's a really cool article that I read, I think a week ago. So there was this one survey, and they mentioned that, the coming teens, like our generation, they don't really trust AI. Like 53% of our 53% of the people, who were like doing the survey, they said that they trust the ethics and like the design decisions. Now, I think the major reason behind this is that, most of us, we don't really care about this, or, most of us, we don't really care about like AI generated content because we can get to know the difference. Very simple example of this would be, I think 1 month ago, I saw this Instagram reel, and there was this like really big rabbit. He was like they were like a human-sized person, and it was like, oh, it was looking so real, and I think they generated this using Mistral. And I was just like going through the Insta comments, it's like that because that video had like 5 point something million likes. I was like, oh, it's a demand video. And then someone wrote that, oh, please don't post this kind of content because if my mom sees this, she will believe that, human-sized rabbits are there, and they will be like, oh, you have to be careful, son, like, yeah, just don't go out, John. So I was like, yeah, it's kind of hard for previous generations who haven't really used that much AI to like trust these things. It's a very known fact. I mean, if you have lived in Asia, or if you have, friends from Asia, there's this one cool fact known as WhatsApp University. So there's this fact: don't ever believe what you get to learn on WhatsApp University. So there are these random facts which, your uncles and like, in family groups you will get, and all this AI generated content. Oh, there are human-sized rabbits, and then you start believing in them. So there's this fact that, we shouldn't believe that. So I think the major reason why most of us have we don't really trust AI anymore is because some content is not really AI marked. Like it doesn't even have the label that, oh, this is AI content, like AI generated or something like that. So I think we should do something like that, like the content should be AI watermarked or something like that. And then most importantly, there should be a demand for transparency. Like all these companies, if you guys have used iPhone 15 Pros or later versions, you might have used Apple Intelligence. Now, how Apple trained their models is quite interesting. Apple is known to be a company which has, all these really good values for privacy, but maybe they were trained. There were some rumors. I don't really know about it if it's true or not, but there were some rumors that I heard that they were trained on YouTube videos because they used Google's TPUs instead of using NVIDIA's GPUs because they see them as a competitor. So these tensor processing units instead of the GPUs, when they used that, they also used YouTube's data. So if some of us are here are like YouTube creators, I mean, it's being used to train data, right? We don't really know. There's no transparency, and then these are like big tech companies. You can't really also go out and sue them. No, that video. Why did you take that video down? You're not paying me for that video, but yeah, you're using my content to train your model. So I think this will be changing if we if the teen expresses this to the big tech. But I think big tech does knows it, so hoping that something happens. Anyways, there were a lot of layoffs in Intel in the past 5 months, if you guys saw the news. But here's some good news. They do have a plant in Arizona. There's one chip manufacturing facility in Chandler, and they do hire people from CSE, CS, and then all these majors, especially from EEE, electrical engineering as well. So they're having these investment seeds coming in, and I think they had their $1.1 billion funding in January 2024. And then right now they're having another $1 billion something funding in January 2025. So they are getting like about $2.2 billion of funding. And I think it's gonna create really, really good jobs for us. I mean, there were a lot of people laid off, but hopefully, we get good jobs because I think most of us are from the tech industry, and looking past over like 1 year and 1.5 year, we were like feeling negative. Oh, AI is gonna come and take over all our jobs. So this is kind of good news for us, like if we keep getting funding, and yeah, that's kind of cool. And there will be like, as it says that 50,000 plus indirect jobs. That is cool. Also, they have about 5.6 something billion dollars to like which will be invested in the upcoming time, which is kind of cool. Anyways, I was already talking about that, in October 2024, OpenAI's valuation, according to October 2024, their current valuation is $157 billion, right? Now, OpenAI is opening up for another historic round. They are like in talks to secure another $40 billion funding, which would bring their valuation to $340 billion. To put this in perspective, you can think of it as this way. This would make OpenAI as the second most valuable startup globally, which is like really cool because it has a really strong foundation. Maybe in the next 10 years, it's the next Apple, or it will definitely be in the big tech because they have all this solid foundation and they have really good training of like big data. That's kind of interesting fact. The lead investor here is SoftBank, and then it would become largest OpenAI investor. So yeah, you can see that they will be investing about somewhere around 15 to 25 billion dollars. All right, this is not really related to us, but I thought that I will talk about this. I don't know if you guys have seen, especially after Trump administration, OpenAI has been, like connected, has been connected really well with the U.S. government. What they are trying to do is get all these contracts, just like Boeing, Northrop Grumman, how they get contracts from the U.S. for like military equipments and stuff. So they will be having this government solution. It's known as ChatGPT Gov. Now it will have all the all the data in ChatGPT Gov will be trained privately, and it will be having, like, it obviously it won't be available to the normal public, but the current usage is like they have like more than 90,000 users, which is just like insane. And like they have access to more than, I think, 3,500 government agencies data, like FBI, everything. I'm not sure if they have FBI data, but it's kind of crazy that they have access to all these things. It will be integrated with Microsoft Azure, and it does have, government cloud compatibility. So no non-public data handling. So public won't be able to access all this data. I mean, for obvious reasons. But coming on to the next slide, actually, I was really interested to talk about this. How many of us here have Facebook accounts? You? Okay, you. So I think four of us have Facebook accounts. Okay, five. And I mean, I have a Facebook account as well. I remember, I think I created my first Facebook account not super long ago, but I think it was in 2016 or 17. I don't remember the year exactly. But back then, there was this one game which I couldn't play because it was quite popular in 2012, and my cousins used to play this game. It was known as Farms something. Do you remember the name? It, yeah, I think, yeah, Farmsville. Yeah, that was the name of the game, so, something like that. And it was more like Clash of Clans, and people from all across the world, they used to play this game in on like Facebook back in 2012. I used to watch my cousins because I couldn't create an account. I wasn't old enough, but it was like super cool, like Farmville. You grow all these crops and you just sell them to your friends, and then you get monies for it. It was more like Monopoly, but social Monopoly. It was really cool. Now, Zuckerberg, he has the vision for 2025. He says that currently only 33% of the teens use Facebook, and there has been like a sharp 71% decline. It's like most of us have Instagram, or like we have like Snapchat and like TikTok accounts. I think we are moving forward to this fast culture where you're just like scrolling reels, and then once one reel ends, you scroll on to the other one. Facebook didn't really used to have reels before. I think they implemented that back in 2021, 2022, somewhere around that. And it's kind of cool. Also, what I realized, I have a Facebook account, and I only open it sometimes because you get messages from relatives, birthday wishes, all these things. I realized this one user perspective, which I think people should be aware of. Facebook has like longer reels compared to Instagram. Like an average reel on Instagram, I think it spans between 30 seconds to a minute. We don't really usually watch like longer reels. But if you watch reels on Facebook, they are like 2 minutes long, sometimes 3 minutes long, sometimes even like clips from all these movies or like stand-up comedies. So I think people like our previous generation, they have a more like they have a longer span of concentration compared to us. We are like scrolling all these memes. We consume more data, but we don't have a really strong focus of concentration compared to them. That's what I think. Also, back in the day before 2014, I mean, I was in like sixth grade back then. Facebook was like super popular. Like people who couldn't get an account on Facebook back then, they would try to enter like fake date of birth and get a data account. My parents, coming from India, I mean, Asian family, and my parents were like super strict. They didn't they were like, you can't create a Facebook account. So I was like super scared also. I was like, oh, if someone finds me and tells my parents, so I didn't create until certain age. But I think what will be really cool to have Facebook return back to it and back to its roots is we will be seeing less AI generated content. I think if you still scroll Facebook, like the reels on Facebook, it has less AI generated content compared to Snapchat. Like all the AI content that you use that you see on Snapchat is, I don't like all of it. Like maybe it's not even worthy of your time to like scroll the content on Snapchat. Instagram does have some really good creators putting all this, content, but I think it will be kind of cool to see Facebook return to its roots. Anyways, coming on to the next topic, Microsoft. So you might all have been aware back in 2020, Trump took this pledge. He was like, all right, folks, I'm gonna ban TikTok, or TikTok's gonna be no more. So maybe it's his personal envy. I don't know. Anyways, I shouldn't talk about it anymore. But he just doesn't want TikTok to be owned by China, and he sees it as a competition. So they have started talking again. I mean, you might have seen in the news, TikTok was like taken down for a day, and then right after Trump took pledge, they came into operation on January 20th. Now, Oracle and Microsoft actually, they both are in talks to acquire TikTok. And the quite surprising fact that I found was, I was reading also about this, that Perplexity, the AI company, they want to own like 50% of the US version of like TikTok. So it's kind of interesting. It's like right now it's estimated values like $50 billion, and all these companies, they were first criticizing like TikTok, especially Meta was very vocal about it, that TikTok doesn't really generate good content. And uh, if you did used to use TikTok back in Asia, or people in America have different views, but in Asia, people were like, "Oh, you use TikTok?" Like they used to give like a different view on it, or you're like, "Oh, you're a TikToker," So it was more like a defaming thing back at home. I don't know what the reason was, but I think most of the people do have TikTok account. But yeah, anyways, they are in talks to getting acquired. And I think the stakes are incredibly high. We're talking about a potential of like $50 billion. If it does get taken over by Microsoft, Oracle, all these tech giants, it will maybe change its perspective, or like TikTok's values will be changing, and we'll be seeing a whole another platform. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about to seeing what future brings us for TikTok. All right, talking about the last topic for this Wireside, we are seeing these powering wearables through human skin. I don't know if you guys can see it in the picture, but let me zoom in for you guys. Uh, I don't think I can zoom in. Anyway, so this fascinating breakthrough, it's by some researchers from CMU, Carnegie Mellon University, that could revolutionize how we power to, like use these wearable devices. How many of you here own a wearable device, like a smartwatch or something like that? Oh, you do own? I just asked this question because I was gonna talk about the wearable devices. I think Apple Watch was released back in 2014. And back then, when I still used to go to school, I was in middle school, and people were like talking about, oh, how there's this cool watch that, you can use to track all the data and stuff. Then I was like really excited. Once I came into high school, I was like, oh, I have to buy myself an Apple Watch. I got an Apple Watch. And then I was like, oh, why doesn't have like a, that feature where you, not really a screen time, because they have this feature where, the screen is turned on all the time, but kind of like this feature, how long you have been using your Apple Watch. But apparently they don't have this feature. And I was like, so I don't really use my Apple Watch. I just track my data. And even if I don't wear it, it's not like, oh, I've lost something important. It's not as important as your wallet. I mean, you can see all these notifications, which are kind of cool, but still using that on phone is pretty much easy. However, there are some really cool things, like which you can use your Apple Watch for. I mean, you can install all these transit cards, pay for your food, which is really cool. I mean, that's kind of cool. And recently, if you guys saw Apple's keynote session for September 2024, they announced that in AirPods second generation, if you do own a AirPods Pro second generation, they have this test which you can take for your hearing. So you can like sit. I took that test, and it's actually amazing. Like it's like thinking about this one thing, that you have an AirPods which are like these small, and they can function for about 7 hours. And usually people don't put them in their ears more than 7 hours. Some people do, but there's a small fraction of that. And then you put them in back in the case, they recharge your AirPods, and you can use the same device to track your, hearing assistance, which is really cool. You have to sit in a silent room, if any one of us here does own Apple Pro, AirPods Pro second generation, you can take that in a silent room. So you put those AirPods on, it kind of like cancels out all the noise, like using active noise cancellation. And when you take the test, it tells you if you have, like a hearing loss or something. It's kind of super cool. I think this thing will be, revolutionizing like our industry. What they're doing here is, your blood sugar monitor can run continuously without charging. They're basically tracking like our blood sugar monitor levels. And the interesting fact is they're using like radio technology. So I think they're emitting like 40 megahertz of radio frequency, which is like, going through your nerves, and it's like tracking all the blood sugar data down. So yeah, that was all for this wire side. I think we're also running ahead of time, so we should be good. But